Good morning, everybody. Excited to see you. This is a new day today, right? Something new. And we're going to finally tackle this question that has been, in our minds for some time. And I'm sure many of you have been asking questions. So, how do you make money with renewables? So, how do we do it? And actually, can we really make money with renewables? This is the kind of question that I wanted to tackle in this new slot, this special show that I'm having, right? But I'm going to tell you more in a minute. Just to say, first of all, that welcome to Renewable in Africa channel. As I promised to you, we are here to demystify the sector for you so that it makes it seamless and easy for you to connect. Whether you are an investor saying that, hey, I do have money and I want to put into the sector, I just don't have the right information. We are here to make it very, very easy for you to be able to do it. Or you may be saying, hey, listen, I'm actually a business and I like to make sure that I can contribute as well. So I can decarbonize my operation. And here's where you find all the information that you're looking for. Or you're a professional. You're saying that I want to jump into the sector. And you in particular are going to be interested. Whether you're a business professional, you're going to be interested by this law. Why? Because we're going to be looking about the business of running a renewable energy business. That's what it's all about. And before we actually start, let me quickly say that if you're watching us, I first of all want to say thank you. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for supporting us. And thank you for contributing. I know on a regular basis, I receive emails, comments, people reaching out, asking all sorts of questions. And we just love it, right? All I'm just going to ask you to do is if you haven't done it yet, it is still time to subscribe to our channel. And the beautiful thing is, we're actually connecting from multiple platforms at the same time. We have LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, so we have Instagram, and we have Instagram is not Instagram, sorry. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Telegram. So from all these channels, you can connect, which is beautiful and great, right? And definitely also want you to leave a comment. Let me know what you think about, especially this new special show. I just want to make sure that we talk about something very important. I want to talk about this. Yeah, money. Yeah. And I want to talk about this, renewables. And yeah, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. And also share. That's the third thing I wanted to do, right? So share with people that may not be connected yet, but would be interested by this show. And okay, that's what it's all about. You know that already, right? So I'm sure you could be asking the question, hey Tony, we know that you're already broadcasting on a Wednesday, but you also do it on Sunday. So why do you want again just to have another slot? Simply because, as I say, this one will be very, very special. It is special because I want to run it every Friday, same time, only for half an hour, because I know your time is precious. Mine as well, by the way. And I just want to talk about everything we've related to relating to business in the renewable energy space. How do you run a business? And obviously, the subsequent question behind it, how do you run and make a business successful, meaning that you are making the money that you want and you're able to impact the greater society, right? Which is all what we set out to do. And before I do that, and like I say, it's going to be a series of many conversations. And today is purely about just me introducing the slot to you and getting initial feedback as well. And obviously, as we're going to be going week after week, I'm sure we're going to have multiple things that we can discuss. And every time I will have a topic. But before I dive into sort of explaining exactly how it's going to run over the next few weeks, months, who knows, years, I don't know, right? So, first of all, I wanted to take a step back to understand, okay, why is that I wanted to talk about, renewables and money, right? So, where does it come from? So, I thought the best, I actually got the inspiration from my own journey into renewables, right? And I thought, okay, if I've if I've gone through that, there's a good chance, and obviously I haven't talked to people as well. I thought if I've gone through that, there was a good chance people as well may have the same issue, right? So let me give you a little bit of a rundown as to what has been my journey running renewables in Africa. So if you do not know, yeah, so I run this company for the last 6 years, but I've been in the sector for much longer than that. And when we started, so uh, setting up the company, right? Initially, obviously, I started working as a consultant into the sector, right? Being helping other people in other projects. Yeah. So and when I worked on that, initially I was thinking, okay, let me start by a small country, small in terms of population, small market, and sort of learn the job there and then move into other places and make even more money where the potential is even bigger. So I started doing that. And very quickly, I realized that it was difficult for me actually to make ends meet, right? And where I started, it was in the Botswana market. Why Botswana? You may ask yourself. So simply because one of my best friends happened to be from the country. So and then he obviously set up a very successful company over there. So not in the renewable space, but company. And I thought, okay, he would coach me in running a business, which I'm sure on the paper looked great and fabulous, isn't it? So I've done it. And yes, I've learned a lot, but I could see, although it's a country that's relatively well run compared to many other countries and the continent, so it was still difficult for me to get things together because things were going at a slow pace. Then come the time you start thinking, okay, I probably want to attack multiple uh, countries at the same time, right? This is what I did. And you're thinking, okay, you then have more chances having at least one of the countries that respond well. And at the time, I was setting out to be a consultant, and my I was looking at becoming a developer, right? So that's what I had. So you now started operating in multiple countries. So you're now having to diversify much faster than what normally you'll be required to if you were, for example, in another market. But because you need to understand the environment where you are evolving into, right? To see what is working for this one and what is not working. So I started looking at that. So different market at the same time, right? So, but then again, so you then need to understand what are the specificity of each market. Again, that's another challenge that you're going. And then, if you just by yourself, you struggle a little bit. Yes, you can travel from one country to the other, right? But you can't multiply yourself, right? But how can you do that? Then we had this fabulous idea, you know, setting up Renewables in Africa, the platform, because we thought, okay, we're just going to kill two by one stone. We just at the same time inform people, but we're also going to make sure that we have a presence or we at least opening up the market in other places because people will get to know us, right? Yes, work to a certain degree. Yeah. So and that was great. But then again, it's always this question because this is the thing that it's important for people to understand. So if you say that you want to make it your main business, right? So you need to make sure that you have enough money to replace whatever job you were doing before, right? That's clear. You need to replace that. That's the first equation that you need to solve. Even before you start thinking about hiring people and all of that, you need first of all to replace that, to replace the earning that you had, or at least have something decent that allow you to carry on doing your living. So, you see, that's the kind of equation that you want to have. And like I say, I've done it. Opening up in the renewable energy platform, renewables in Africa platform. It worked relatively well. So we started doing the work as a consultant. It was still difficult to get things to flow, but we managed to stick up to that. And then we say, okay, time for us to become a developer because at the time, as a consultant, we work with, and I think it was me, I already had somebody working with me. We work with people, with other people in the other project and supporting them as much as we can. But then we thought, okay, we also want to graduate ourselves, become this developer. Probably because as well there is how can I say that? A little bit of an aura of becoming, let's say, a solar developer, renewable energy developer. I'm doing project, right? So it's kind of an aura there. So you start doing it, right? And you're excited about that. But very quickly, you also come to understand that how can you sustain that? How can you sustain that? How can you because business is very simple. So you need to make sure that you generating revenue and those revenue are enough to offset all your expenses for you to have a margin that is sufficient enough for you to keep going as a business. If you don't get it solved, you will struggle. You will struggle. And we've gone through all this journey. And even as a developer, I'm just going to make it faster. As a developer, what we realize is, you definitely want to have a big pipeline of project, right? But that wasn't the issue for our case. But because we had a pipeline of project, but then you want to have projects that are bankable enough for those projects to be able to get to financial close and be financed. And the other thing, you now start looking at the time it takes to get a project from origination all the way to financial close. And then for you to get paid development fees, which was our case, in order for you to keep going. And like I say, because like any business, you probably want to have some target that you have at the beginning of the year. And for you to hit a target, let me just make an example very quickly. If you're saying that you want to hit $100,000, as a turnover at the end of the year, and let's imagine as a developer, for example, for each decent project that you're getting, you're actually getting something like $10,000 for development fees. What it simply means for that year, you need to deliver, you need to get the equivalent of 10 projects that you will have developed, or a project that is big enough to give you what you need. These are the equations that we need to be talking about here. And these are the kind of challenges that a lot of people are going through, and we're not talking enough about, right? So we've gone through that. So as a developer, especially in emerging market, in some emerging market like the African market, if you're not able to have this kind of pipeline that will give you, dozens of projects that you can close every year is a bit tricky unless you have a big project. But you and I know, looking at the data, so getting that amount of project, that close every year in the African continent, you now start becoming questioning a little bit the business model of being a developer. Can I solely be a business developer in the continent? The answer is yes and no. Yes, if you have some deep pocket and allows you to tap into big project and where you can work and you can afford to wait to get the big buck when obviously you reach financial close. Or if you can't have it, then it's difficult for you to actually only keep this business model and you have it then to diversify, looking at something else that brings you the money, right? We found ourselves in that second model, but over the next weeks to come, we're obviously going to be talking about that. But this is just part of my own personal story. That way, I have learned a lot running the company and figuring out what is the right way to do. Because, and this is actually a question sometimes I get, people be asking, okay, what other job are you doing? So what they're implying is, I know you can't make enough money with renewables. What else are you doing? And they'll be surprised, say, yes, this is my job. And yes, I have built a team right now. But for me to be able to have done it, you really need to understand how business work, and you really need to understand what can you do to make ends meet and to grow your business. And this exactly the kind of lessons that I like to discuss and share, and obviously get some learning as well from other people that could help me for sure, but also help all the people, because I'm sure there are many of us. And I also sure this is not just something that is typical to the African market. This is true across the sector. Why? Because I've noticed that in the sector, tell me if I'm wrong, by the way. I'd be happy to see some of your comments. Yeah. Because we're just gonna keep it short, right? So I'd be happy to see what people are thinking. But what I've seen is, observe is, we are so focused in delivering goods, services, for the betterment of the society. We want to save the planet so much. Sometimes we forget about the business principles. And on the result of that, you have many companies that can't survive. There's something very interesting where it's a poll that we've been running uh, by my company, right? And what I've seen, which is actually quite interesting, is that the policy running, and we're just asking people out there. So um, how old is your company? And it's interesting to see that actually the more than 50% of company out there are more than 5 years, which is actually quite interesting and encouraging. But a lot as well, as you can imagine, will be between 1 and 5 years, which is something not surprising. So these are the kind of data that I wanted to start look at, discuss about, and see what we can learn. So that's a little bit about the background that led me to create this space where we're going to have those discussions, right? That's what it's going to be about. Now, you're probably going to ask me questions. Okay, so how is it going to run, right? And I'm gonna tell you something very simple. So we're gonna run it every Friday, at 1 p.m. BST time, 12 p.m. GMT. I know it's always changing all the time. So probably look at the area where you are and see what time it will mean it comes up to. If you're in the US East Coast, that will be 8 a.m. your time, right? Only for half an hour. Why? Again, because I said I'm respecting your time. I want to make sure that it's not too long, right? But also it's not too short. So you get some quality information. So we're going to be looking at that. And what are we going to talk about here? We're going to talk a lot about uh, different, let's say, key insights about running a business and how to apply into renewables energy. So you can expect us looking at different kind of business models, right? Getting to understand that and understand that a little bit. We can also understand. We can also expect to look at different session where we'll be looking at how do you advertise a business in the space. How could it be applied to you? We're also going to be looking at how are you making some sales, because this is the thing at the end of the day. Whether you have a product, whether you have a service, right? Actually, quite simple. First of all, you want to get some attention on your product or your service. You need people to get to know what you do, right? I usually ask people a couple of quick questions. I always say, when you go shopping, and if you imagine that, when you go shopping, let me ask you a question. When you go shopping, I can see I have a question already. That's fine. Let me make sure that I can leave maybe few minutes for questions. So I can see there's a reaction, but not really a question. But let me continue. So when you go shopping, right? So I usually ask a very quick question, and the question is this one: do you go towards? Are you attracted by the brand that you know, or the one you do not know? So in general, when I ask these questions, so the answer is, so I'm attracted by the brand that I know. So the second question is, how do you know this brand? How do you know this company? And the answer usually is because they've been advertising, they've been out there, they've been making sure that you will get to know them, so that the time you are out there shopping for this kind of product, guess what? You automatically going towards those products that you've seen or you know. So I have two news for you, one good one and one bad one. So the bad news is basically you are not that special. No, you're not that special. Because if this is how you think, right? So you can be certain that your customer think the same. There's no reason why you would think like that and your customer would think differently. So meaning that if your customer don't see you on a regular basis, if he hasn't identified you as one of the brand that is standing out there with respect to the line of service where you're into, he will struggle to come to you, right? That is for certain, just because he doesn't know you. Unless he's out there to find something very, very specific that doesn't fit with the choice that he's already have in front of his eyes. So you're not that special. But the good news is you can't be that special. You can't be that special if you realize how things work, right? If you realize how things work, and if you know as well, how can you make sure that you can stand out? But if you also understand how business work, so when you understand how business work, then you get an idea how you can position yourself, right? How you can make money, how you can make more sales for you to be able to obviously keep your company growing, thriving, and for you to deliver the greater good that you are after. And that is what I would like us to discuss in this slot. So, we're purely going to be looking at business, the business of running a renewable energy business, because we're not talking a lot about that. Yes, we all want to save the planet. I'm the first one. But how can I save the planet if I can't save myself? How can I save the planet if I can't save my family? Right? Very important. How can I save the planet if I don't make the money necessary for me to be able to deliver whatever I want to deliver? This is what I like us to discuss. And that's the kind of topic that you could be expecting. Obviously, as we move forward, like I say, every Friday, 1 p.m. BST time. So as we move forward, we'll do the best we can to add features from time to time, collecting as well your feedback, making it more entertaining, more interesting, and hopefully more insightful. And I'm hoping as well at time we may be able to get one or two people to come and speak to share the experience. Not the one or two people. In fact, I like to have as many people as possible so we can see, because that's what I want to do. I want, because like I say, I strongly suspect that my experience is not the only one out there. I'm sure about that, right? It's just like we've not been talking about that enough, right? So I want to create this space for us to be able to debate it. And this is what I'm going to be doing, like I say, on a weekly basis. So definitely make sure that you share the video with you share the slot with people, you leave a comment, and I appreciate diving into that. So let me stop into that to say this is what renewables and money is going to be about. Don't be shy. Money is good, definitely, because with more money, you can do more project. And with more project, you can save more people. Let me just say that this way, right? So I know it's a journey, and yeah. So hopefully, I know some people may not connect with this message. That's fine. I think we can't please everybody, but I'm sure there's a lot that we do. So let me take a couple of questions because before I start wrapping this up, because as I say, I also want to respect your time. I want to keep it to 30-minute maximum, right? So between 20 and 30-minute maximum, so that we know that we don't take too much of your time, right? So let me just dive into some question here. We will see. So I had Duncan will say pipeline of job with customer base. Okay, so I'm not sure I understand the question, Duncan. So let me see. I establish. So Duncan, like I say, I am not sure I understand your question. It looks to me you more sort of say, okay, I like to establish development in the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, where solar is technical no-brainer, but the practical challenge required for reliable partner has been China. You see, okay, excellent. So um, I think we can't read the full question here while I'm displaying, but essentially, I'm just saying, Duncan was saying that if I understood that correctly, here is a typical example. Duncan has been looking to set up a company in the Caribbean where obviously solar is a no-brainer like it is in Africa. But the practicality, of finding the reliable partner has been a challenge. This is the kind of question we want to discuss. How are you finding the right partner in a country? Because that's key. That's important for you. You need to understand the market. And usually, when you have the right partner, they will help you to understand this market. So how can you run it? How can you make it happen? That's the kind of question. That's a typical question that we may want to look at. In fact, you're already giving me an idea, Duncan, that a topic that I'm going to add. Because obviously, what we did, we actually created a list of topics that we're going to be talking about. Like I can tell you, there are loads. There are loads. Simply because, like I say, the business of talking about how to run a successful renewable energy business, it's something we do not talk too much about, but we need to do that. And the reason we want to do it, yeah, it's because my aim, my big goal is to see thousands of successful company out there. Because if they are successful, they will grow, the sector will grow, and this is how we're going to be rolling out even more projects, right? Things going to mature. But how can you do that if we don't learn the right lessons? That's what we want to talk about. Thank you about that, Duncan. Drop me a message on my Tony to you on LinkedIn, and I'll be more than happy to record it as a potential topic. And who knows, when I talk about this topic, so I'm going to invite you. And also, that's one thing I want to say. I don't want this slot only to talk about maybe Africa. I'm talking about renewables and money. So you can expect that we're going to be looking at across the world what are the right things that we need to learn, and just look at some examples that work and those that don't, so that all of us can learn from it. Right? That's what we're going to be doing. So I have Babi who's saying, I'm looking to get big challenge, big things change. Okay, pollutions. Okay, save. Okay, Babi, you will. I'm sorry, but I think there's a bit of a typos there. I am not able to fully understand your questions. If you're thinking about the fact that pollution, environment, and we need to save the planet, absolutely, we need to save the planet. But the point I'm making here, and why I created this space, we won't be able to. Let's be also practical, right? We won't be able to save the planet if we don't have companies that can sustain themselves. We need to understand the principle of business so that we know how to run these companies and we can deliver the greater goods that we all set out to do. If we don't do that, we will die as a company before planet Earth die. That's what I'm saying. So the best model I've come across apart from Europe is low pay as you go product and SME solution where generation rephrase energy use match. Okay, so Duncan, so you going already into the details here. So as I say, so I'm very happy to have a specific subject and topic around that where I'll welcome you to come and speak as a guest, and we can talk about that a little bit more into details. But as you can see already, there's a lot of okay. Okay. Yeah, and that's what Duncan is saying. This is a comment, not a question. Great. Thank you very much for that, Duncan. I appreciate that. But you're raising a very good point, Duncan. That's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of questions that we need to tackle, and we tap into that because as entrepreneurs, if we discuss about those questions, we will learn a lot. And also things as simple, basic as I say, how do you advertise your company, in the space? So how do you sell your product in the space? How do you follow up customer in the space? What kind of customer service are you providing in the space? These are the kind of questions that we need to run, right? Because as I said, so if you don't understand it, trust me, you may have the best product out there, you struggle to make things a proper business, right? Because you need to be learning about that. As a company, we have had to learn this thing for us to be able to still be around for 6 years. I'm okay. 6 years may not be a lot, but I'm sure all of us have looked at all the challenges that we've seen and those in front of us with the recessions, but also the inflations. How do you tackle it? How do you make sure that? Because if you say, for example, that you want to have growth, you want to have growth already. Yes, true. But with inflation, your cost going to be already sort of increased by 20, 30%, even more. So to say to keep, even just by that, to keep the same margin, it would mean you need to sell more to keep the same margin, right? Because margin, what is that? It's actually revenue minus your cost. You need to sell more. And for you to sell more, how do you sell more? You don't just sell more because you declare that you will sell more. You need to have a strategy, a technique. How do you make it happen? So these are the kind of topic, a question that we need to discuss, right? I'm coming towards the end of my slot. It's about 30 minutes, so let me just stick to that. So I'll be happy to see you every Friday at 1 p.m. BST time. We have so much to cover. In between, drop me a message, tell me what you want to talk about, and I'm looking forward to be talking to you more often. Okay. And as you know, we also have our usual 2 slots on the Wednesday, but also on Sunday. So that means on Sunday we'll have already another slot, but that won't be renewables and money. That's our traditional slot. But for renewables and money, the next episode, the next live video, I see you next Friday at 1 p.m. BST time. Guys, it's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.